Okay, so it's really cool coming down into an area of trees that I planted up a decade ago. Got some rowans here. These were some of the first trees I put in. Actually, I just fenced off a little tiny corner and chucked in some rowans and some hazels. And some of this stuff wants coppicing now, actually. I think some of the hazels are probably ready to be chopped off for the first time, maybe bleach them down, lay them down, to let them kind of grow up again. But what there is down here is loads of seedlings. So we've got kind of, that's wild cherry, well, not very wild, I planted it. And then everywhere there is blackthorn. And blackthorn's a bit of a brute. I mean, the sloes this year were like, the sloes this year were like grapes, and it doesn't half spread. I mean, look at this. So if I can take some of this back and let the other trees have a bit of an opportunity to grow, I think that'd be a much better thing. I've got some fruit trees down here as well. Some of them probably want propping up a little bit. I don't like staking stuff too much, but it probably wouldn't hurt. Silver birch, that's looking pretty good. Nice pretty tree. And then going further on up into like the willow coppice. So my short rotation willow, it's quite a fun little experiment. I need to plant up this next patch from here up to where I've got the willow growing already. And you'll see in a second what I cut down last year. So I split it into kind of 5-6 sections of willow. And last year I cut down the first section after like 7 years. You can see all this 1 year growth, and it needs thinning now. If I bring the camera around. Whoop. So the idea is I need to thin these out, so each stump's only got a few coming off it, and they can concentrate their growth into those and produce me some good firewood in 5 years' time. When it comes this section's rotation again, this is the next section that needs cutting. So, I can't quite get my hand around that. Means it doesn't need splitting, which is ideal. So I'll walk 5 paces up here. I think it's to about here. And I'll be taking out this section, letting that other section grow on. And then next year, this section. But further on up here, I think I have to climb the fence. There's a few here on the south side, we get the most light. They've grown away a lot stronger. So I think actually I'll take one row of this out. You can see down there, I don't know if you can see down there, but that's actually getting quite thick. And what I don't want to do is end up splitting it. I think that'll be a pain. So I want to try and cut it now, let it come back stronger, manage this first row. Then maybe that'll happen to the second row then, but by then we'll be coming up from behind and tackling it. I want to take some cuttings out. Brother wants like 100 cuttings to plant behind the barn he's building for a screen. So we'll take some nice thick chunky cuttings, chunkier than what you buy probably. We'll get 100 cuttings of that and take over, probably help him plant that up. And enough cuttings for me to carry on my bit of coppice down there. I probably should have done it a few years ago. It was easy to get distracted and just leave things to their own devices, but it'd be quite cool just to continue that down. And it feels like a proper wood when you're in there in the summer. It's really quite cool. Okay, so going back over, we've got a few things to do a bit nearer to home. So here's the oak I mentioned from the tree up there. You see the huge bracket fungus all down the side of it. Unfortunately dropped this huge branch 2 years ago, and I've logged some of it up, but I want to log some more up and get that drying, ready to burn on the fire. And using my battery chainsaw is kind of like the ideal way for me to manage my time. 2 18-volt batteries last about half an hour, and come out, do half an hour, go back in, do something else. It's starting to rain. Obviously I want to be building the base of my greenhouse as well, but it's not essential. That's done in the winter. The ground needs to be a bit drier than it is at the moment, especially if I want to use a digger and things. So that might have to wait till early spring. And I planted this hedge 8 years ago, and it's coming on really well. It's mainly hawthorn. We didn't have huge amounts of funds at the time when we planted it, so I think it wasn't too varied. There are some apple trees in amongst it. That's a tom pup hanging out there. And there's a few cider ones on M25s that I grafted myself. Some of them need standing up, but I think it's best to do the hedge first around it, and then I can sort those trees out afterwards. I've got a friend in the village who does hedge laying, and he said I could spend 2 days with him, learn the basics, and then hopefully be able to tackle it myself. And it's probably going to be a lot harder than I think, but it should be really fun, should be really interesting, and I'm really looking forward to it. So I'm hoping to get the materials I need from the coppice and see if I can lay that, learn how to do it, and then in a few years' time be able to do the new hedge that I planted 2 years ago as well. This bit of an old garden that I planted up and then kind of let go wild. There's been some willow trees come out of this, and part of me wants to cut them down, but part of me knows it leaves nice dappled shade on the chicken pens in the summer, and it's actually quite beneficial. And it also means that actually if I need any bits of green wood just to mess about with, I've got something there I can cut down if I need to. So I'm not too worried about dealing with those at the moment. So about 8 years ago, I planted some damson trees down here. None of them did very well, except the one over there, Merryweather. That did really good. This one reverted back to its rootstock. I've tried to graft it over and tried budding it. Nothing, it's just so vigorous, nothing will take. So I've decided I'm going to rip that out. I mentioned in my last video, I'm going to take it out, and I've ordered a Black Worcester pear on a really vigorous rootstock, so it should get to a nice big tree. I'm going to pull this out with the digger. The wood will get used. I'm going to use it for something. Damson's a beautiful wood, so it's definitely get used for something, but I think it needs replacing. And I also planted 14 damson trees along the footpath hedge that I put in 2 years ago, so I'm not too worried. I think we've got plenty of damsons. This tree is really well established down here. I'll show you. This tree produced loads. Merryweather's a great damson as well. It's kind of a freestone one, so it's like a damson cross plum. The stone comes out really easily. It's great for preserving, great for drying. I dehydrate loads of them. It makes great jam. It's just a brilliant damson, really. All damsons are great. This is particularly good. It's really nice to eat fresh off the tree as well. So we all come down here. There was a ladder down here for ages as I was picking them off daily. Absolutely beautiful damsons. So yeah, I'll leave that one in, but take the other one out. And I want to push this willow back a bit on this side. I did the other side last year. You can kind of control this a little bit more, and then log some of it up for firewood. Be really quite handy. And, you know, gain us a bit more of this orchard back. This is encroached massively. There was enough space for another tree here when I first put the trees in. So it makes me think that, yeah, this willow tree's got a bit too big. And then I need to prune some of these apple trees back as well. Every year, the worst thing you can do to an apple tree is not prune it. Some of them don't need very much off, some need a bit more than others. These Scotch Bridgets have been really vigorous growing, but also this year, last year I should say now, they cropped really heavily and broke some of their branches. So you can see that one. I cut that bit off actually for my pastry cutter video. I don't know if anyone's watched that. Apple's quite a nice wood for that. So I need to take off the damaged wood. There's a bit there, there's a bit over there as well. And then kind of look at these for structure, try and get my goblet shaped trees. And this is rather than thinking this is a task but to dread, I love pruning apple trees. So I'm really looking forward to this. I've got my mum's trees to do at hers as well. It's about 30 trees there, which I'm going to prune. So I'm looking forward to doing this. And this will probably happen sooner than some of the other jobs. It's quite a nice task to undertake. But yeah, that's my kind of goals with trees in the next few months, January, February, March. I'm hoping I can get those jobs done and we can move on then and hopefully be doing stuff in the garden as well. Let's see how we go.